view of the San Bernardino Mountains. I'm here at a turnout because I'm running out of gas, and so I don't want to go too far up because there aren't places to put gas in your car, so I don't really want to risk it. I got off work a little early today. Got a bit of an early dismissal, which was nice, and I decided to go on an adventure, but I'm running out of gas, so it's not a good idea for me to go up 50 miles north if I don't have gas. And I think my brakes, I have to change my brakes because they're starting to squeak, so I have to get that checked out. But anyway, happy Friday. It's finally Friday, right? It's starting to warm up. The weather is starting to get a little warmer, and the days are starting to get longer. The flowers are starting to bloom. And I was just thinking about how at least if you're in America, you can probably relate to what I'm about to say, but things are pretty haywire right now. There's a lot of chaos going on, and I'm not someone who reads the news or watches the news, really, because unfortunately it's so biased. You can't get an objective point of view because everything is so polarized here. But I'm in an area right now. This area in particular, the San Bernardino area, is an area that is particularly conservative. And I saw a lot of Trump flags on my way here. And I just thought how people hang on to ideas, or they look for saviors. And there's nothing wrong with looking for someone who knows what they're doing and someone who can protect you, or that you know will look out for you when things get rough. And I don't have anything against Trump supporters. I don't agree with a lot of the rhetoric that Trump and his cronies promote, but I do understand why people voted for him. People voted for him because it's in our nature, just like people voted for Kamala, right? It's in our nature to look for a savior. We want to know that we're going to be okay. And that's why a lot of people voted for Biden. I mean, every presidential election, it's a vote for someone to save the country. And it doesn't matter where you're at in the world. I think it's the same thing. You vote for someone that you think is going to save your country or going to protect you from any outside threats, or they're going to implement policies that are going to ameliorate your life. But really, in the end, you realize that you're on your own. The people in power have shown us time and time again, and this is not exclusive to America. I think it's applicable to every single country, or most countries. They don't have our best interest, and deep down inside, I think we all know that. It doesn't matter if it's a Democratic president, or a Republican president, or a Libertarian, or whatever party exists in your country. They don't really have our best interest, and if they do, their hands are tied because they have to respond to lobbyists and oligarchs and those who have the money to get the country going. and it's not up to them. So I want to say that it's okay to look for a savior. It's okay to want to have a leader in your life, whether that is a politician that is in power, or just a leader in your life. In a relationship, you want a person that's more of a dominant personality, or friendships, or in the workplace, you don't really want to be a boss. You want to have a boss, but you want to have a boss that is fair and that treats you well. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being a follower. But we also have to realize that leaders have their own self-interests and have their own agenda. And not all leaders care about the good of the nation, or if you have a boss, they don't care about the company culture or their employees. They just care about revenue. Or in a relationship, they just care about taking, but not giving. And so there needs to be a balance of being able to be a leader and a follower, knowing when to lead and when to follow. And we have to practice those skills. It has to be a balance, because if we know what it's like to be a leader, we will understand our leaders when they make mistakes. But if we also know how to be a follower, when we're in positions of leadership, we're more open-minded about the good of the community, because we've been in the followers' shoes. And it's important to remember that we have each other at the end of the day. We have each other as a community. We have each other to rely on, to help each other. We don't need a leader to protect us and to save us. And I completely understand why people would look for a savior, because existing is scary. Whether that be a religion, right? Jesus Christ as the savior, or Muhammad, or the different Hindu deities that exist. I understand why people would want a savior, because existing is scary, and none of us really know what this reality is about, why we were put into this existence. And having some kind of certainty that there's someone out there, whether that is a deity up in the sky or some higher power of any sort, that makes existence less scary and less daunting, I think, because we know that someone is looking out for us. And the reason why I started with the Trump supporters and how San Bernardino County is a predominantly conservative area is a lot of people will make fun of this county and make fun of many conservative counties around California, but I will say that people just want to know that they're going to be okay and that they have someone that will look out for them. And we have to understand the Trump supporters, and even the Kamala. I'm not a Kamala supporter. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm apolitical, if you want my honest political affiliation. I'm pretty apolitical, and I don't care about these politicians, because I don't believe that they have our best interests, at least in America. They are beholden to lobbyists, and they don't really care about whether that's a Democrat or a Republican. They don't really care about the good of the nation. They just care about their own interests, and it's always been like that. What's going on with Trump, it's out in the open now. but it's been happening for years and years and years and years, and I understand why people would fall for this trap, because if you woke up and you realized that you're on your own and that there's no politician out there to save you, that's a pretty scary thing to think about, that your country won't help you in times of trouble. And I've seen this firsthand because of the fires that just happened here, and how this was the first time that area that got burned was affected by the fires or by a disaster in general. And that was the first time that this community realized how susceptible we are and how we can't really count on the government. We're on our own. The rebuilding process will be disastrous. There's no plan, and people are pretty much on their own. And I wouldn't be surprised if homelessness rises. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't get fixed in 5-10 years, and if they're still in the rebuilding process. I would not be surprised by one bit, because we're on our own, and it's much harder to rebuild and start all over if you're on your own. But what I will say is that, yes, by on our own, I mean we can't rely on our politicians, we can't rely on our leaders, because in our case, in America's case, this country is way too darn big to be able to manage. And that's just the truth. It's way too big. The population is way too big. And that makes it harder to create initiatives that would help everybody. I understand that point, that it's hard to help when everybody is so spread out, and every state is like a different country. I mean, heck, every freaking county is like a different country. San Bernardino County is very, very different than Marin County. Marin County is very different than San Diego County. And so every county has their own culture. Now, think about every state. Every state has their own ideologies and their own behaviors and their own culture. And that's just hard to manage. But although we are on our own when it comes to leaders, and we can't rely on leaders to help us or the government to help us, we can rely on each other. If we come together as a community and we put our differences aside, we put our political affiliations to the side, and we just look beneath the layers, who this person really is. Who are these people? Outside of the Trump supporters, outside of the Kamala supporters, outside of the Democrat, outside of the Republican, outside of whatever party or difference that you want to label that person, outside of those layers, who is the other person? And to me, everybody on this earth is a divine, and I'm going to sound hippy-dippy, and I don't think language can really do justice to what I can understand intuitively, but everyone is a divine manifestation of the divine, you know, and this is my belief, and you may tune out at this point because you may not believe in that, and that's totally fine, but I do believe that we're interconnected, and that we're like a spider web, and we're all connected, which makes us one, which makes us whole. And I don't have the language to explain this, but what I will say in layman's terms is we have each other. We can't rely on our leaders all the time. We can't rely on saviors, whether that is Jesus Christ or Muhammad or whatever kind of savior. It's okay to believe in those saviors. I'm not saying that that's wrong. But you also have to realize that in this reality, in this dimension, we have each other, you know? And I don't know if I'm making sense. I feel like I'm not. But anyway, I hope you're having a good day. I hope you have a great life. And I'm wishing you all the best. Peace and love. Bye. From the San Bernardino Mountains. Okay, I need to get back to town because I need to fuel up my little car. Have a great one, guys. Bye.